Hey guys, welcome back to today's video. Today is Friday, October 2nd, 2020, and today I'm going to be talking about Donald Trump and COVID-19. So, last night, I'm sure many of you guys heard, Donald Trump has tested positive for the coronavirus. Him and Ivanka Trump have said that they will be quarantining for, we don't know how long, but they will be quarantining. And it is pretty important to note that President Trump is the first president since 1981 to face a life-threatening situation. Now, COVID-19, while many people do survive it, over 200,000 Americans have died from COVID-19. So there is a number of questions about Donald Trump's health and whether or not he should be leaving his house for rallies. He's canceled his Florida rally, a Washington fundraiser, and it looks like in the final stretch of the campaign, it's going to be difficult for Donald Trump to hold rallies or any in-person event really for the next 2 weeks. COVID-19 is pretty standard. Once you are diagnosed with it or test positive, generally you will quarantine for 2 weeks. And it looks like President Trump may be taking a little bit under that, considering that he needs every single day in order to win this election. And it looks like it's not on track to do any better. And now COVID-19 is yet again somehow another October surprise that has jumped into the mix. Now, there's a number of things to unpack here. First things first are debates. That is the main thing that a lot of the American people are really want to know. First of all, 2016, the debate between Hillary Clinton and Donald Trump got, I believe, 40 million more viewers. There were around 65 million viewers of the debate last Tuesday. And, it was a very weird debate. It was not good. I don't recommend watching it. Recaps are much better. But realistically, these debates weren't swaying too many voters. After the first debate, only 2% of voters say that their vote was actually swayed by the debate. And that's not a lot whatsoever. 98% had said the debates really didn't change my mind. The debates are just there. And, there was a call from both sides after the first debate to discuss whether or not they should continue going on to debates, considering how, the performances of either one of their candidates or the opposition candidate. And now what we're looking at is the fact that the next debate is poised to be October 15th. And even if Trump was to quarantine from today, the 2 weeks would push it past the October 15th date. We're expecting to have 2 more presidential debates. It's going to be very difficult to do that if one of the candidates has COVID-19. It would have to be a virtual debate or something of the mix. And that honestly just wouldn't work well. It wouldn't come across normal, and I don't think anyone would really watch it. But this really is something that is going to possibly not really hurt his election chances too heavily unless he actually continues to have worse symptoms over the next couple of weeks. Donald Trump is likely to recover from COVID-19, and my condolences are with his family and everyone around him. The White House right now has a number of operatives who are testing positive for COVID. His family members have tested negative, but Melania has tested positive. And this raises the discussion as to whether or not the White House is now at risk. With COVID-19 circulating even to the President of the United States, it's pretty important to note. And it's also going to dispel a number of rumors from people who may be supporting President Trump who don't necessarily think COVID-19 is a very real issue, that now see that their president, or obviously America's president, but the President of the United States now has tested positive. So 200,000 deaths, millions of cases. Donald Trump is not, he is super likely to survive this, but the question isn't whether or not he's going to survive COVID-19. The question is whether or not he's going to be able to campaign in the final stretch of the campaign season. There's a number of distasteful comments out there talking about President Trump. Realistically, that's not the way that politics should be going. Politics should not be to a point where you are wishing death on someone. But I will say that looking at the trajectory of the campaign at this point, Donald Trump's campaign is, on the verge of collapsing. And this has only added to it. After we've seen the Melania tapes get released today, or actually yesterday, not today, I don't know why I'm saying today, which aren't too impactful. They're not going to impact the election whatsoever. They're just there. It was just not necessarily an October surprise, but it was a surprise nonetheless. Now Donald Trump has COVID-19. A number of things have been pouring out against President Trump. So if we look at the betting odds, people are expecting Joe Biden to do well. You can see on the 90-day average that Joe Biden's at a higher point than he ever has been in the past 3 months. Donald Trump is at a low point, the lowest he's ever been in the past 3 months, with the exception of one day, which Joe Biden was up 10% on the national average on that day. A lot of people are expecting the possibility that if Donald Trump is unable to continue debates, that would essentially mean that he would be unable to hold in-person rallies and win back the election. You see, what we saw Donald Trump do in 2016 was hold a number of rallies in the Rust Belt. And obviously, rallies are a very tricky issue with COVID-19. But I will say that what Donald Trump did in 2016 was completely turn around an election that he was poised to lose not only 3 weeks before, but 2 weeks before. And some people were even saying a week before. It only narrowed up right before the election because he focused a lot of his energy on Rust Belt states. He knew he was solid in Florida. He knew he was solid in North Carolina, and Democrats knew it too. I mean, the polls indicated Trump was going to win there, and they already expected Trump to outperform the polling data. But the Rust Belt was where Donald Trump really solidified his base and was able to win over voters that had voted for Obama, voted for Kerry, voted for Gore, voted for Clinton, not Hillary Clinton, Bill Clinton, that ended up going for the Republicans in 2016. But now, what we see is that Joe Biden has locked down those voters. He's locked down Rust Belt voters. But Donald Trump needed this time. He needed this final month of the campaign season. I believe we're 32 days away. He needed every single one of these 32 days to turn around the election because 32 days out, he's down 8 points nationally. He's down 7 points in Michigan. He's down he's down 7 points in Wisconsin. And then if you look at Pennsylvania, he's down 6 points as well. That's not a good sign. On the forecast, Joe Biden has an 81% chance of victory. It's the highest it's been since, June 29th. And that was the highest point for Biden. And now he's at his new high. So at an 81% chance to win, Joe Biden is running pretty strong. In a number of these battleground states, he has a very strong chance at winning them. So realistically, it's very hard for Donald Trump to turn this election around. And now COVID-19 is a hindrance for at least the next 2 weeks. No debates, or at least no in-person debates. No real possibility of holding a rally, possibly if he's obviously distanced. But again, this is just going to raise a number of questions. Why is the president who's been diagnosed with COVID-19 or tested positive for COVID-19 now holding rallies where people could very well get COVID-19? And it's also going to raise the question about how serious COVID-19 is, because Donald Trump could possibly, take this and speak to voters and say, COVID-19 really did nothing to me. And that could possibly move voters away from believing COVID-19 is a real threat. Or he could take this and say, COVID-19 is more deadly than I previously thought. And one thing the Biden campaign has been very focused on for the past couple of months is that they are talking about how Donald Trump has been downplaying COVID-19. Once those tapes got released about how Donald Trump knew how deadly COVID-19 was, but then told the American public something else to avoid a panic, well, now people are going to start raising those questions. Well, is it super deadly now if he ends up saying stuff like that because he's been personally impacted by it? Honestly, there's no way to spin this testing positive for coronavirus as a positive. It's not going to be the end-all be-all. This is where Biden wins because Trump has tested positive. But it just limits what Trump can do for the next 2 weeks, which is 14 days out of the 32 he has left to win the election. Because he's down 8 points nationally. The betting odds are expecting him to lose the election. Mike Pence's betting odds went up to 9 cents last night. 9 cents. Mike Pence. Because people think that Mike Pence might possibly replace Donald Trump. That's not realistic. That's not going to happen. But people are not as confident in a potential Donald Trump victory following not only COVID-19, but following the first debate. And after the first debate, if the impression is on the American people that, sure, both candidates had an okay performance, but Donald Trump came out in the negative for me, and there's no more debates, it's going to be very different. And this vice presidential debate is also going to have a lot more attention than we previously thought, because Donald Trump will likely have COVID-19 by the time we hit the vice presidential debate. It's 5 days away, 5 days. Wednesday, October 7th, between Vice President Mike Pence and Senator Kamala Harris. So we are going to see the possibility. Maybe there's a question asked to Mike Pence, if Donald Trump is deemed to be unable to serve, what will happen in that situation? And that's going to be something that the American people, they may not be too comfortable voting for a party or a ticket that they may not be too sure that this ticket will be able to serve through a re-election bid. And I know that's something that's been discussed for Joe Biden. Health issues have been a main thing for Joe Biden. People talking about how Joe Biden, from their right wing at least, saying how he can't form a sentence or how he's senile, all of these things that they are completely untrue, unfounded claims. But Joe Biden's ability to speak versus Donald Trump actually contracting a deadly virus, well, they start to outweigh one another. And yes, we've been talking about Joe Biden's health, or at least the media has been talking about Joe Biden's health and a mental fit to serve in office. But now people are going to start asking those questions about President Trump. And realistically, it's going to be very difficult for Donald Trump to try to spin this into a positive manner for his election. And with the final 2 weeks, I think that this is just derailing his campaign even further. Because right now, Biden is going to win the election. And I can say that with almost full confidence. If the election was held today, Biden would win. He's up in all the states he needs to be, and it just really is going to be so difficult for Donald Trump to try to hold any event or even go to a debate while he still has COVID-19 and still tries to, win over an electorate that he previously won, but not by a large margin. Because what he did in 2016 was turn around the campaign in the final month of the campaign season. Well, now he's been cut in half. The month has been cut in half. 14 days have been removed from Donald Trump's schedule. Now, obviously, he could still hold rallies if he's distant from people, or he could possibly, end his quarantine early. But standard COVID-19 quarantine time, 14 days. See if you develop any more worse symptoms, whatever it is. But it seems as if it's possible that we have no more debates. The vice presidential debates get expanded to possibly 2. Or there's just a very weird type of election because the final month of the campaign season has thrown us a curveball. And the curveball is that the president of the United States has now tested positive for COVID-19, which limits his ability to do a lot of things, which also limits the possibility of debates and a number of other things that could impact Donald Trump's chances in the final stretch of the campaign season, which overall is a negative. Because if he was leading right now, I think he'd be fine with no more debates. But he's down 8 points nationally, and he's down in all of the key battleground states. So it's very difficult for him to try to turn this election around. It was already difficult with 32 days. What is he at now? 18 days? So thank you guys so much for watching this video. Make sure to comment down suggestions below. Subscribe on the left if you haven't already, and check out the Instagram and Twitter. At the bottom left of the screen, there's also a Discord link for you to go ahead and join. On the screen, there's a video you can watch, and then a playlist for my 2020 election prediction videos. I'm actually releasing one in just a couple of days, 2 days to be exact, so that is a couple of days. Again, thank you guys so much for watching, and I will see you all later today.